can we do some research on bacterial brews to support plant health in arable cropping? That was the question. Okay, so I am imagining you are talking about compost teas, or is it more than that?
More the bacillus link or the root-based bacteria that you can brew up, so you get better plant health, less pesticide use.
Okay, and what's the raw material for making these brews then?
Bacillus bacteria.
Okay.
In with a food source and water and air to get better plant health.
Okay, so you'd have to buy your bacillus bacteria first and then feed them with molasses and increase their numbers. Okay.
Show of hands.
So,
Show of hands.
well, should we do a show of hands on that one? Because yeah, let's put them up. Massive. That is massive. Okay, that very interesting. I don't know much about that. I was involved with the first field lab that took place in the UK at field scale on developing compost teas for using to support plant health, with very much the same idea, but that was a far more diverse product. And I think what you're talking about is a very specific product, which probably means that you've got more chance of brewing the right thing. Because the problem with compost tea is it very much depended on your compost, what you ended up with in your compost tea, which may or may not have been what you wanted. So this sounds like a very much more scientific way of producing a bacterial product. Anybody sitting around this room that knows more about it that can share that?
So I'm going off piste a little bit on that, but it is related, I'll show you. And the two questions I have. First is, I'm not a farmer, I'm not a researcher, but I work in the innovation space. So I often come across practices that are not, it looks like they work, but there's no evidence behind that, but they often are commercial products. Mm-hmm. Is that something that innovative farmers would actually get involved with, because there's a commercial should we say gain to be had from a company who's selling it? But and the reason I've got the mic here, because the one I was thinking of actually involved the use of bacillus bacteria in livestock, and the claims are made that it can actually replace formaldehyde and copper sulfate as a foot bath.
Oh really?
Yeah, and also in the biosecurity field as well, in breaking out biofilm and improving water supply. So
that is interesting. Thank you very much. That's very interesting. That can be used as a replacement for copper and
copper sulfate and formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde. That was what I was forgetting. Yeah, Rob.
Can I follow up on that one?
Yep.
There are all sorts of snake oil salesmen out there, and sorting out the wheat from the chaff is quite difficult.
Yep.
If somebody's selling you a biostimulant which doesn't claim to be a nutrient, if it's working at all, it's probably upregulating or downregulating the genes. And there's a European project which is aimed at specifically this area to try and identify whether that effect is being had on the genes. So that will help the industry to sort out the wheat from the chaff.
Okay, thanks, Rob. I mean, I'm just going to say, to answer your first question, it's something that we are often approached by people wanting to get their product promoted. And it's very hard because right now within the agricultural space, there's so little support for near market research that's not conducted by the company themselves who are trying to promote the product. And you can be certain when they've conducted that research themselves, they won't publish any findings that are negative to their product. And that's a real problem for farmers, because whenever you look at a product, you can't be sure that what they're saying is all the findings. But at the same time, we haven't seen it as our prime purpose to carry out that kind of product testing. But it is something we talk about because we're clear that it's a real space. Because as a farmer, it's really hard to know when somebody comes and telling you all this fantastic data about their product, but the bit they're possibly not telling you is all the findings that were less than glowing for their product, and that makes it really hard for you to better, as you say, pick out the wheat from the chaff. Now, I'm just amazed. Is it really time? Is it?
For introduction.
Yeah,
Clem's gonna.
Yeah, okay. Do you know what? That time has gone like winking. So, so what we've got, just to summarise before I hand over to Clem. So we've got a question about managing weeds. We had a question, I'm going to forget them all now, this is terrible, about reducing methane from feeding cattle on seaweed. We had a question about how do we control cabbage stem flea beetle, and a question about how can we test the viability of using bacillus species to protect crops. Was that the ones? No, you're shaking your head back there.
To reduce pesticide.
Reduce pesticide usage, thank you. So I think, have I captured all of the questions that we had? At least people were brave enough to put their hands up. If you've got questions and you didn't put your hand up, please still let us have them, because do you know what? It's been the most fantastic event, this, for us finding out the kind of areas that you as farmers want to do research on. So, you know, please tell us, because, you know, really through garnering all these questions, we will be able to help farmers find the answers to these questions on farms.